bed shaking, staircase, sex having, like you said, bodice ripping.
I was like, where is staircase coming in?
There's a staircase scene.
Welcome to SinCast, presented by CinemaSins.
All right, everybody, welcome to the SinCast. This is Chris Atkinson from CinemaSins, joined as always by the voice of CinemaSins, Jeremy Scott.
Hello!
And from Music Video Sins, Barrett Share.
Hi there, I have an announcement.
Uh-oh.
Go for it.
He's got the cheese!
He's got the cheese.
How did you keep this from us, you fucking secret keeper?
I found the cheese.
Where'd you find the cheese? Tell us.
Right down the road. $6.
That's perfect. What was it, Sprouts?
What was the store?
Sprouts.
Sprouts.
The one that used to carry it and then stopped.
Okay, here's what happened.
Okay.
I guarantee that this cheese was not available when I've been looking at it or looking for it for the last 2 years. I further guarantee, well, I don't guarantee, but I further suspect that as of last week, they were still no longer carrying it. So this morning, I take a hard sweep. I go in there. They open at 7. I take a hard sweep. It's usually sitting on the cheese bar. And I'm like, God damn it, I'm going to find this. And I'm like, all right. So I take a couple laps. There's nobody here. It's like 7 o'clock in the morning. Take a couple of close laps around the cheese bar. You know, the circular thing with all the cheese around there? I'm like, I'm going to find this motherfucker. There's a couple of Fugazis that look like they're in the container, but it's Belgioso. And it's like other shit. And I'm like, nope. I must have looked crazy. I was the only person in the store, and I was just wandering the cheese aisle at 7 o'clock in the morning. Suddenly, my gaze was averted over to the right-hand side where they keep all the veggie drinks and all that stuff and like the cold, fresh stuff. I'm like, all right, well, it looks like there may be a container there. Cruise past it, do a lap. No, nothing there. Belgioso. I'm about to walk out. I'm like, I'm going to take one more look. And there it was.
That's funny.
Now, in my defense, they had changed the packaging and the label. So I had to look for it, but I found it.
As the thing today, I was at Publix this morning, and it's not like I went on to a fucking APB on the cheese or anything. I was just looking at the cheese aisle to see if it just happened to be there, because that would have been a funny story as well. Just I show up with some fucking Mazithra cheese. I looked at the cheeses over at Publix, and I was like, okay, I don't see that cheese. But one thing that made me think that there's a possibility that our search parameters weren't right or whatever was that I go to the other end of the store, and there was a little display case that was like Mediterranean foods. And I was like, I wonder if there are certain things that you look for online and you go cheeses, and it doesn't put that under there. It puts it under Mediterranean foods, or it puts it under some other fucking classification, and it makes it hard for you to find those type of things. Because when I spent that month in Vegas, and I went to the Albertsons that was close by to where I was staying and everything, I was looking all over for like rice, and I couldn't find rice. And I was like, where's your rice? And they were like, it's in like, it was like in Mexican foods or something like that. It was something like, I don't know. I went through that aisle 100 times and never saw it. And mainly because it's so your brain's going, it's stupid that it would be in this aisle, but I'm going to wander through it.
Just in the rice aisle.
Yeah. So anyway, I wondered about that as well, if there was a possible classifications thing that was going on.
Well, I found it. I found the motherfucker, and I feel like I've wasted everybody's time.
No.
But I felt exhilarated and demoralized that I hadn't found this before.
Entertaining.
We've had a lot of people, express concern,
yes,
and delight,
yes,
and mockery of my quest for this cheese.
No, I don't mock the cheese
just
quest.
to let you know, the cheese quest has been achieved.
Hey, every now and then, everybody has that item, that thing they want to get at the store that they can't find at the store. I think everybody's been there to some degree. And I'm glad you didn't have to overpay for the cheese, nor did you have to drive 45 minutes out of your way for the cheese. And I'm glad you've got it. And what I'm most looking forward to is a picture of the dish you make using the cheese. So,
it's going to be glorious. I've already gotten an erection.
Did you get some brown butter to go? Are you going to make the brown butter dish? Or are you going to make your own?
You got to make the brown butter. I don't know if you can get brown butter.
I don't know what brown butter is.
It's butter that's browned.
Well, do you put Worcestershire sauce in there or something?
No, you just you cook it to where the solids stay in and they get all brown and the liquid evaporates. It's right before it gets burned, so you have to really, really look. But it's nice and brown. You've had brown butter before,
I'm sure I have. I just thought it was a different kind of butter. You put a color in front of something that normally doesn't have a color in front of it. I assume it's a different product. It's like purple.
Yeah,
cauliflower.
brown is the process. It's like blackened chicken or something like that.
See,
it's the
they
process
shouldn't use
by
colors
which you
for that. That's confusing. They shouldn't use colors for that. I'm serious.
I'm glad we're off to a good start here.
Would it be blackened butter then? Would that make the
Well, that would be burnt butter.
Yeah, see, you can't
call it
browned butter.
Yes, browned.
Yes, it is. I'm sorry, I should say browned butter. Browned is the process by
That's
which
not
you
how
cook
I've
the
seen
butter.
it spelled. I'm just saying. I said spelled
right.
with a T.
What brownt?
Brownt. Okay, so do you guys have any recommends or warns?
Totes Amazeballs.
They're great.
It won the Academy Award
Oh, for what?
for best movie ever made.
Oh my. I always have something for y'all.
Mm-hmm.
You ready?
I'm ready.
Bring it.
I'll go first. This week I have I have a rec-a-warn and a recommend.
Okay.
My rec-a-warn is a film called The Lover, and it is not the film you're thinking of, starring Jane March from the early 90s. This is an Israeli film from 1986. The director is a woman named Michal Bat Adam. That's an Americanized production. She's also the star. This is one of her first films, but she is now today known as the Queen of Israeli cinema. The Wikipedia page says the film was cut in two versions, one in Hebrew, one in English. The one I saw was in English, but it looked like their lips were speaking English. So I wonder if they shot everything twice. The Wikipedia page also says they did extensive rehearsals as though it were a theater production, and the cast was kind of weirded out by it. So it wouldn't surprise me if they shot it twice in two different versions. This is a strange movie. The Recca comes because I found it engaging for a handful of reasons I'll try and articulate. The warn comes from the fact that I also found it pretty boring. And I don't know, I guess that sounds like polar opposites. I think what engaged me was the concept, and what bored me were the performances. So you've got a married couple who are in their 40s or 50s that, for whatever reason, it's not explained, have stopped having sex. She's trying to get a PhD. So husband, who fixes cars, he's got an auto shop. Dude can't pay for his wrecked car, but happens to be a tutor. So he says, hey, instead of paying for your car, come home and tutor my wife in this language. I think it's Spanish he's trying to learn. He's like, all right. It's like a day and a half before the Spanish tutor and the wife are fucking. And this movie is basically all about everybody fucking people they shouldn't be fucking. The husband figures it out, follows them, and then convinces there's a war. And this is based on a true story. This is set. Oh, Jeremy, don't speak out of turn. This is set during the Yom Kippur War in 1973. And so angry husband somehow convinces dude that's fucking his wife to enlist. And I guess the way he convinces him is you'd get arrested if you didn't enlist. And he was trying to hide so he wouldn't get arrested. So he basically, it's like David and Bathsheba in the Bible. He sends this dude to the front lines and he disappears for years and he's not heard from. Meanwhile, auto shop angry husband guy has a hot daughter. And this is the kind of movie. Hang on. I'm not done. This is the kind of movie that'll make you look up what age people were when they shot this movie. But I'm happy to report from what research I did, everyone was of age. Well, she hates school and she's coming of sexual curiosity. And the dad at this point is trying to find this guy that was fucking his wife that he thinks he killed and sent to the war. He's desperate to find this guy. He's overcome with guilt. He's enlisted the help of one of his auto part. I'm giving you the whole movie because I'm recommending.
Yeah, you are.
I'm not expecting you to watch it. Dude has a helper who works for him at the auto place who's not of the same race, Jeremy. But anyway, he's an Arab. I guess it's not explained any further than that. But that would be taboo for anyone in Israel to have a relationship with this guy. So, of course, the daughter starts fucking him. And meanwhile, the daughter has a hot friend who decides, for some reason, she wants to fuck the dad, auto shop angry dad, who is, in my opinion, not remotely handsome. If you're going to be a high school girl who lusts after an older man, please have a reason. Be
like Billie Eilish.
It's like in that Crazy Stupid Love when that girl has a crush on Steve Carell, and I'm like, yeah but it's Steve Carell. Like, you can do better than that. Anyway, so hot daughter basically corners dad. Hot daughter's friend corners dad.
Okay, yeah.
And then fucks him. And basically, I won't spoil the end, largely because I don't remember it. But everybody is having a taboo sexual relationship with everybody else, but everybody still feels very lonely and empty. And in that regard, I was compelled by what the movie was trying to offer, and I thought it was unique. Of course, I haven't seen very many Israeli films, so there's a whole lot of cultural stuff that I found interesting. But the performances, and I'm backed up by the reviews, it appears, are just kind of flat, and it was considered pretty melodramatic at the time. So if you're interested in any of the things I mentioned, there's a Recca for you. But, you know, if you'd rather save 90 minutes, it's not a very long movie, then I'm also giving you a hearty warn.
How did you run across this movie?
I was flipping channels and it said The Lover, and I thought it was the other one.
Oh.
And
yeah,
I thought,
but
I haven't seen that in a while.
This still seems like what channel would be playing this movie?
Oh God, it was one of the epics, or it was one of the movie channels I subscribed to.
Title is hard to find on the IMDb. I had to go to Google it and then find that name that you were trying to pronounce.
Yeah.
And then plug that into the IMDb, because when I put The Lover in, it was like, fuck you. You're not going to have this. You're not going to look at this title. I'm trying to,
I don't remember where I watched it. I'll try and find it, and we can maybe put it in the show notes if people do want to check it out. But
if you've gone this far, tell us what happened to the fucking Spanish tutor.
Oh, he comes back. He's alive, and he's like sort of a Underground Railroad refugee assistant kind of guy at this point. So yeah, And there's a grandmother who's creepy and sick, and then she gets better, and then she dies.
Who's she fucking?
She's actually one of the only people not fucking.
Okay.
Unfortunately.
But the wife doesn't fuck anyone after her dude goes to war, right?
No, not a different person. She's in love with that guy.
Oh, okay. All right. Well, hey. Wow. All right. I don't know if I'm going to check this out or not, but I probably will.
I got recommended a movie over the weekend that I went ahead and watched called The Brother from Another Planet. And
nice.
it's John Sayles of Lone Star and 8 Men Out fame, who wrote and directed this. Joe Morton plays the brother from another planet. He is an alien. He comes down and he finds himself in Harlem. And he doesn't have any way of really communicating. He can't speak, and obviously he doesn't understand English or anything like that. But he can. It does seem like he can sort of empath his way into certain things, where he knows what people want and everything. And of course, as the longer that he stays in this area, he starts figuring out what people want and everything. But he also gets the full on what John Sayles is trying to say is America in the 80s right now in Harlem, where he experiences drugs, he experiences sex, he experiences racial discrimination, all these things. But this movie is really good. I didn't really expect it to be this good. It was like the dialogue in it, it's very natural. It's like it's something that's sort of emerging in the 80s, where you start seeing this real naturalistic dialogue and like fun and entertaining dialogue, real characters and everything. Joe Morton goes into a bar, and there's just a bunch of characters. There's, you have your old wise guy that's in the bar, played by Bill Cobbs. You've seen Bill Cobbs a bunch of times in movies like, do you know who I'm talking about? Bill Cobbs?
Not off the top of my head.
He's the guy at the top of the clock in the Hudsucker Proxy.
Oh, I know
okay,
exactly.
yeah.
That's perfect. He's awesome.
Yeah, he's great, and he's in a million things. I bet if you looked at his IMDb, he's got 140, 150 credits, maybe more. It's got David Strathairn in it as he's a part of a duo of aliens who are trying to catch Joe Morton for whatever reason. We don't know what the reason is, especially because Joe Morton can't say anything the entire movie, and we don't know what's going on. But he has this sort of knack for fixing things and healing people and things like that. And like one of the first things that happens is he goes to one of these offices where I don't know what the main function is. I guess it's either to find work for homeless people or people who are maybe have just gotten out of jail or something like that. And one of the guys, you might recognize him from Seinfeld. He worked with George. I can't remember where George was working at the time, but I'm pretty sure he's in that episode where George starts eating like Snickers bars with his knife and fork.
Yeah.
And it's that black guy that's with him in
Morgan.
Morgan is his name. Yes.
Yeah.
He's in this movie. And then so there's like there's a lot of like people that you recognize in this, like in their early days. It's really interesting, really fun movie. It's got its dramatic, serious side, but it's just fully engaging all the way through. The conversations these people are having are just like, oh yeah, you just can't get into this movie just through the conversations and everything. So,
that's early David Strathairn, right? What year did you say this was?
1984.
How far does he go back, do you think?
Look,
Sneakers was 92, right?
Yeah.
I mean, that's got to be close to the beginning of his career.
Stratharn's got 136 credits.
Wow. Yeah, he does. Yeah, he does.
It looks like his first movie was Return of the Secaucus 7 in 1979.
Oh, okay.
And then he had a 4-year break, and then he was in a bunch of stuff, and he just was in a bunch of stuff from that point forward. Wouldn't
it be funny? David Strathairn's going to be like a billionaire. He's just in a bunch of movies and like is cashing like 800,000 here, 800,000 there, and he's just living
Every
life.
Every time I watch Sneakers or The Firm, he gets another check.
Yeah.
I mean, if I'm watching on TV.
But yeah, I mean, it's got a lot of, it's interesting seeing Joe Morton interact the entire time, just and finding ways to communicate, even though he can't say anything, and he doesn't understand the language. People say something, and you can sort of see him get it. Just like interesting stuff. Like there's this, he works at an arcade where he's fixing all these old machines and everything, and there's this one girl he's told about in the arcade who can just spend one quarter and be on the game all day basically. And she starts talking to Joe Morton, and she's like, there's just nothing in this she says, I see everything super slow, everything's super slow around me, nothing can keep up with me and everything. And he goes over to the machine and like presses something on the machine, and suddenly everything on the screen starts going faster. And she goes, "Oh yeah, that's what I was looking for. That's what I was looking for." It's just a lot of just cool little things like that. So I really enjoyed it.
Awesome.
I really had no idea who you were talking about in The Firm with David Strathairn, but I forgot he was the scuzzy brother.
He's the scuzzy brother who falls in love with the Crooked Smile.
Mm-hmm.
With who?
Holly Hunter. He says, I love you, Crooked Smile.
Crooked Smile.
She says something like, well, good, it's not my best feature, or something like that.
Yeah, that's exactly what she says.
He does like some kind of...
he's just fresh out of jail, right? Like he's I think Holly Hunter got nominated for that. Like that was the year basically...
Really?
That he was the year basically where Holly Hunter, they were just destined to want to give her an Oscar because she's going to win for The Piano, but they wanted to make sure she got nominated for The Firm too. So you're like, okay, Holly Hunter's getting an Oscar. Like,
dude, I love The Firm, but she doesn't have the best performance in that fucking movie.
She's all right. She's good, but
it's fine. Receipts in the bag. I mean, it's like it's. I don't know.
I think Hagman probably steals that movie. I mean, Cruise is good, but Hagman plays that line down the middle of, you can't trust him, but he's not saying anything sinister.
Yeah, he's hit that. He's hit that Kevin Spacey and L.A. Confidential type of like, I don't give a fuck anymore. Like everything is corrupt as shit, and I'm too old, and let's just fuck it. I'm I don't like anything anymore. So just do whatever you want to do.
One of my favorite parts of that whole thing is when he sits down with Mitch to take him out to lunch his first day, and he's like, I should tell you, the firm frowns upon drinking during business hours. And he's like, I'll take an iced tea. And then he orders like a martini or something like that. And he's like, as a senior partner, I'm allowed a certain rebellion or something like that. Yeah. By the way, the other thing that it was nominated for in that Oscars was score, which I support 100%.
The score's great.
Awesome. Yeah. Anyway, okay. We got some good stuff. You guys have movies from the 80s. All right, you're living in the past.
Mm-hmm. You're living in the past, man.
I got something hot off the presses. Just came out last Friday as we record this. It's called The Little Things.
Oh, Denzel.
Denzel, Rami Malek, and Jared Leto are basically the only people that you will recognize in this movie. Except for a lot of naked dead ladies, if you'd recognize them. Okay.
Are there naked dead ladies I'll recognize in this movie?
I don't know. I mean, when you've seen one naked dead lady, you've seen them.
I thought you were saying that they cast a famous person to play a dead body.
That would be hilarious. Rosario Dawson plays the dead lady.
What a pull. Why'd you pick her?
Angelina Jolie as the naked dead lady.
Oh, man.
Anyway, So this is one of those movies that was set for WB to release in theaters around about this time, I think. If not, maybe last year. But it came out on HBO Max, too, as well as theaters if you're psychotic enough to go to a theater. It's written and directed by John Lee Hancock, who wrote this thing back in 1993 or so. And famously, I guess the background of this, Jonathan, our buddy Jonathan, was telling us a little bit about it. It was shopped to Steven Spielberg in 1993. Then it was shopped to Clint Eastwood, Warren Beatty, and Danny DeVito to direct. Ended up being John Lee Hancock himself that ended up directing this. And they got Denzel in it. Man, I'll watch Denzel read a fucking phone book, right? And you got Rami Malek, another Oscar winner, who's good. Didn't like Bohemian Rhapsody, but he wasn't the problem with that, except for the AO. And then you get Jared Leto, who's, Jared Leto always gives it its all, at least he can say, right? And so it's a murder mystery, and Denzel is a police officer with the past. Stop me if you've heard this before. And I'm into that. I like it typically when he's got that going on. And I'm like, all right, let's fire this up. And much like how I was kind of excited for The Midnight Sky, for the Clooney joint that just came out fairly recently, where he directed and starred in it, I was nipply for this one. I was like, yeah, all right, let's do it. And man, this movie sucks. It sucks. And I didn't want it to suck. And it sucks in a weird way. It sucks. The whole thing is building up to an end. But the end doesn't come. I'm not going to spoil it for you, especially because it's so new. But it's literally just all build up, a little bit of backstory, but the backstory doesn't come out until the very end, and the backstory doesn't explain anything. There are no answers. That may be the point, but also it's annoying. Like the basic tenet of the plot is that Denzel is a former LAPD detective that had a case so horrific and he was so obsessed with that he had to quit and move to a different land, different county. And now Rami Malek is in charge of a serial killer that's killing naked ladies, and they're prostitutes, and he's stabbing them. And they bring Deke, is his name, Denzel's character, back to help with Rami Malek's character. And they go through all this. There's one murder. There's another, like Silence of the Lambs kidnapping, but we don't know what happened to her. And they focus on one guy that could possibly do all of this. And it's played by Jared Leto. And Jared Leto plays about as creepy as a dude that you would expect for Jared Leto to do. But like, he's creepy in all the ways that you're supposed to be creepy as a suspect, as a serial killer, right? He's got this button-up overall thing, or coverall thing, and he speaks like this, and he stares very intently at him, and he speaks in riddles, and he feels like he's manipulating everything all the way through, and he gets under the skin of his investigators, and the whole thing is cliched, and then the ending comes, and you're like, the fuck? I was looking at it like, and my wife was looking at it the same way, and I was like, God, this is bad. It's like a spoiled orgasm. It's like dripping back into your balls. And I'm like,
the fuck?
It didn't work at all for any of us. And I think the consensus is generally the same. Denzel is fine. Like, he is okay. He's not great in this. Jared Leto is hot garbage, I think. Rami Malek is fine. But, like, I do not get this movie.
Do you get the sense that Jared Leto is a method actor who, instead of, like, if he's playing a serial killer, he doesn't go and investigate or research actual serial killers. he goes and watches a bunch of movies about serial killers, and then
Or
that's
looks
how,
at pictures of crime scenes only of serial killers.
Right. And like
I
there's
totally see
there's
that.
something incomplete about Jared Leto's method that we don't see in other people who have that method.
It's a method of a method. Like he studies other method actors.
Yeah, it's derivative method. Like it's really
Well, his music is derivative rock, so I can totally get that.
There's that. What is the deal? Like, I don't know if it's him trying to create something or he actually, I don't know what it is, man. Like every performance I've seen him in the last few years, there's something off about it. Like if Daniel Day-Lewis were to do these same characters, there would be a difference. There would be a miles difference of how he would play.
There's a level of artifice there. There's no authenticity to. There's a reason that you don't take his technological genius Voight Kampf guy in Blade Runner 2049 seriously, because he's got the same type of delivery where he's staring at. It's not like the guy, the original Blade Runner, where he was legitimately invested in his company and very creepy just from what he did.
Yeah.
There's a level removed to it. And I think you're right. I think it's a method of a method. Again, I don't know any more than you do about his actual method, but there is a level of art. Same thing with the Joker. It seems like he studied Heath Ledger and Jack Nicholson and Cesar Romero and said, all right, I'll do a mishmash of that, except with tattoos.
Yeah.
Like, I don't want to impugn the guy, but it feels like he's pretending to be method.
Yeah.
If that makes any sense. Like, I feel like the most famous method actor in the world who retired, and I can't think of it, Daniel Day-Lewis. I feel like Daniel Day-Lewis is what it represents the best of what the method can do in terms of the performances. I don't really ever see Daniel Day-Lewis in there, and I don't really ever feel like I see any affectation. Whereas a lot of the most recent characters Leto's played seem to be more affected. I think if you go back earlier in his career, he's a fine actor. Before there were stories of him sending dead rats to people and shit.
Yeah.
Anyway.
Yeah. There's definitely just something just off about the way he does things. And I don't know why directors keep wanting him in movies when he does this kind of thing over and over again. It doesn't service the movie whatsoever. Maybe they think it does, but I don't know.
I think so. And I got to tell you, I was excited for this movie in a way that I hadn't been excited about a movie in the 90s. And this is a very 90s movie because it was conceived in the 90s, right? And in the 90s, you'd get those mid-level thrillers, especially with Denzel, of like the one with him on the island and the one with him in the Deja Vu and things like that, where it was just a mid-level 3 or 4 like highfalutin actors doing their best. Fallen is another one of these that has a little bit of a twist. And, I could go for that, but this wasn't it. It was like it tried to be that, but it didn't get there. Get there.
What a bummer. I want to talk about one more.
All right, do it.
You guys don't have to, but I want to talk about First Cow.
Okay.
Which is my recommend. Which is not an impression of a cow mooing, but it is simply a way of signaling that I fully recommend this movie, but it is slow. Like, think of the slowest movie you've ever seen. This movie is slower. And if you can accept that going in, and I've said this recently, part of the reason I watched that whole Israeli lover movie is that I find myself drawn to slow character studies more and more these days. And First Cow is really a movie about some tasty biscuits. And I think it's also about friendship and having dreams and how rarely our dreams come true. I've seen this movie twice now. It's even slower the second time, but my appreciation for it went up. It's basically about 2 guys who meet. They both have big dreams. and one of them's a chef, a cook. And the title comes from the fact that the rich guy in town has brought the first cow to this region. We're in America. I don't really know if I remember.
It's the Pacific Northwest. I think it's Oregon.
Yeah, Oregon country. So this is the first cow of the region. The male mate and the child cow died. So it's just a female, and it's the only cow. So these two guys sneak over and they milk the cow late at night, steal some of the milk, and make the tastiest biscuits Oregon has ever seen. And everybody starts buying them at the market for big prices. Things are going great until the guy who owns the fucking cow shows up and says, I want to buy one of those biscuits. And I'll let you enjoy the rest of the movie from there, because it's a slow enough movie with few enough details. I don't want to spoil what happens, even though not much happens. But the second time I watched it, I felt this weird sense of peace, like I was returning to The Martian for the 50th time or something, where this might be a comfort movie for me in the future for whatever reason. I was really charmed by these two characters and their friendship. Toby Jones is the only actor I really recognized in this movie, at least on sight, and he plays the rich guy who owns the cow. But even though everybody, I think Deister said he kind of liked it, and I think you guys both said, boy, it's slow. And I was like, maybe I shouldn't watch it, but then I did, and yeah, it's slow. You can get up and go to the bathroom and come back, and you're probably not going to miss any important details. But I found it very charming.
I heard about this movie, and I can't remember the director's name.
It's Kelly Reichardt.
Kelly Reichardt, yeah.
Kelly Reichardt. I looked her up and found Old Joy, which was a movie I saw back when it came out and everything. And Old Joy was the slowest movie I have ever seen in my life. So when people were telling me about First Cow, I was like, I didn't really like Old Joy all that much. And I remember critics just loving that movie for some reason. So I have not gotten around to First Cow, although I think this movie has gotten a lot more recognition than Old Joy did. And I don't know if it's because it's just right time for Kelly Reichardt, or if it's just that, this movie is actually better than anything that she's ever done. But yeah, so I haven't seen it.
Yeah, I mean, it's slow. It's good. You're not going
got
to
some
watch
pacing issues, but some people really like that. It is beautiful. The friendship story is really, really nice. It's a Japanese American, I think, that befriends a American settler, and they get into shenanigans, but they're slow shenanigans.
They are
shenanigans.
Yes.
That's why it's instead of a recommend, it was a recommend.
Barrett, are you going to want to do another recommend or warn? Or
listen, I just want to throw this out there real quick, because I only watched one episode, but it's Bridgerton. All right, people, everybody got their boners hard for Bridgerton, and whether they're lady boners or dude boners or cow boners or whatever they are. And listen, it's fine. It's bodice ripping, it's costume, there's a lot of wallpaper, there's there's balls, most of them are rich. It's culturally diverse, which is very, very cool. It's Shonda Rhimes, whom a lot of people like. It's got a little twist to, it's a little bit raunchier than something like Grey's Anatomy, because it's not on network television, but it ain't that raunchy. You get some sex, but it's not like you're not going to see somebody sucking somebody's dick.
Another girl how to pleasure herself. But you don't think that's? I guess so. What
I can see that on ABC tonight.
I guess you've just you really couldn't. That was a poor way to make your argument. I think that you've desensitized yourself somehow. I also think only watching one episode, you can't really speak to the show's
I understand
launch level. I thought it was pretty raunchy. I think my wife loved it. I think what it does is it feeds that Pride and Prejudice, Jane Austen itch, but it also feeds that 50 Shades of Grey itch, Twilight itch of bed shaking, staircase, sex having, like you said, bodice ripping.
I was like, where is staircase coming into
The staircase scene. I would say you probably won't enjoy it anymore if you keep watching, but I also don't know that you're necessarily getting a clear picture of the show.
And I understand that. And if somebody can explain that to me, because you've watched bits and pieces. You probably watched like a compilation of all the sex scenes on Pornhub.
I try and walk in every time there's a sex scene in the episode my wife is watching. That's my goal. That's what happened with Outlander, and I was successful.
Does this apparent? Are you saying this series gets progressively more raunchy as it moves along?
I don't remember there being much in the first episode with regard to sex or nudity.
Because I watched the first 2 episodes maybe about a month or so ago, and I was like, I'll get back to that. But I was like sitting there just going, man, I was expecting a lot more from this, considering I was expecting the way women were talking about this on Twitter. I was expecting there to be a level of danger to everything. Like there was like this guy is so bad for me and whatever. But oh boy, do I want to have sex with that guy and everything. And the guy is that main guy is hot as fuck. There's no doubt about it.
Everybody's hot as fuck in this.
Yeah. But I was just sitting there just going, man, it doesn't seem like any kind of like edge to this at all. And but yeah, I mean, I didn't give up. I wasn't ready to just give up on it, but I haven't watched it since I started.
I mean, if Downton Abbey had a lot more sex in it, I don't think that would bring me to the table any more than it does now. And that kind of, I know it's not the same story, but it's the haves and have-nots. It's the queen and the nobility and the plebes and stuff. And that's just not an itch that I have to scratch, I think. It's also weirdly anachronistic with the music, and that really, really bothered me. There's a scene where
that bothers you, but in The Favorite, it's awesome.
Dude, I will come through that screen. The
music can be anachronistic in the movie you like, but not in the show you don't.
They danced a little funny in The fucking Favorite. This has Ariana Grande playing "Thank You Next" during the chick selection scene where they're all supposed to be, pairing up with each other. And it's thank you, next, boom, thank you, next, boom. And I'm like, fuck, no, that's anachronistic. Dancing funny is not anachronistic. It's just a little funny.
It is. It's not anachronistic in a way that bothers you, but it's anachronistic.
Mm-hmm.
Don't say
I know you're wrong.
No.
All they did was like a little crab walk.
Come on,
it wasn't even.
The one
they weren't spinning on fucking cardboard on their head and like grabbing their crotch and shit like that. They weren't like doing the Thriller dance.
It's really stubbornly wrong.
Nobody heard.
There's like 2 seconds of anachronistic dancing or weird dancing in The Favorite.
Nobody heard that argument anyway because you guys were both talking at the same time, so it doesn't matter.
Hey, I can download my track and send it to him to make sure he gets what I said.
I heard what you said.
Yeah, you did.
All right, so I will give you Ariana Grande in that show is more troubling anachronistic stuff than what is in The Favorite. I will grant you that. But both have examples of anachronistic.
I guess.
Yeah.
Well, there we go.
We meet in the middle. And we resume as friends.
Since you guys have recommended a couple of things, I'm going to recommend a YouTube channel.
Ooh.
And
Cinema Sins?
Yeah. Hey guys, did you know about this channel called Cinema Sins? Oh, that would blow people's minds if we started talking about.
They do. There's everything wrong with it.
Yeah. Like we just start talking about it like we'd never heard of it before, even though at the top of the show we say we're from Cinema Sin. This is largely based on a video that Jeremy shared a couple of weeks ago. This guy Chris Ramsay, that's the name of his channel. Is Chris Ramsay. He does a lot of like magician card tricks and stuff like that. But the thing that I really like to watch on these. And they're perfect YouTube content, I believe, is he gets a puzzle, like an actual like physical puzzle has like different dials and switches and things like that on it, so that it, you try to get to the center of it. Jeremy sent a video of this one that was just like this multi-level tier thing where he was rotating it around. And he's like, oh, there's a number 3 here, and oh, there's a number 5. What does that mean? And like, oh, that ends up being a combination. And then you put the combination in, and you open this one thing up, and then that opens more of the puzzle, and so on and so forth until you get to and it took him about 30. The video was 30 minutes, but I think it took him hours to finish this one.
4 hours, yeah.
And it's a continuing series. That's just one. That's like that one particular puzzle is a part of a subset of other puzzles that he has solved on that channel. He does a lot of other ones too that are completely unrelated. But every time he's got some new puzzle that he has to work, it's just exciting to watch him try to figure it out. Some puzzles, I'm like, fuck that shit. That puzzle's bullshit. Because well, it is, because there's one where he sits there and he's he's spinning it, he's like flipping it around and everything looks like it's just like just physical force is what fucking opened the puzzle up. And it's just like, oh, that's not really using your brain, that's just like that's just like tossing it around until it finally relents. If you like these kind of puzzles and you like sort of trying to solve it with him as you're going along and everything, and you're sitting there thinking, why doesn't he try this? Why doesn't he try this? And eventually he will get to those things that you're thinking of. But most of the time he's way ahead of the curve, and you're just sitting there going, oh Jesus, I didn't even think about doing something like that and everything. But I always have enjoyed those kind of things where like you solve one thing and then it opens up another part, and then you're just it makes it creates more mysteries, but it also helps you get deeper into the puzzle and everything. So I would highly recommend this Chris Ramsay YouTube channel. So
awesome. Yeah, nice. I would second that. I watched a few more videos after sending that one to you guys, and he's a very, very good host. He's got a very good voice. He's articulate. Agree.
Yeah. So to recap here, this is good. This is going to be a fun recap. Jeremy Recca warned a movie from 1986 called The Lover that is not The Lover that has Jane March in it. It's an Israeli film that he thought was the 1992 Lover and ended up watching the whole thing anyway when he found out it wasn't. But he Recca warned that, and he also Recca did the First Cow, the Kelly Reichardt slow as molasses fucking movie that apparently everybody loves these days and everything. I recommended The Brother from Another Planet, 1984 John Sayles film starring Joe Morton, really, really good. I also recommended a YouTube channel, Chris Ramsay, who does a bunch of puzzles and magician tricks and stuff. Barrett warned The Little Things, the movie that is on HBO Max and I think theaters right now. Denzel Washington and Jared fucking Leto. It's getting to the point now where I just have to add a fucking in his name. It doesn't matter. But he warned the shit out of The Little Things. And he Recca warned Bridgerton, but Jeremy says that it's much better than Barrett is got to be. And I have only watched 2 episodes. I am not yet ready to say what I think of Bridgerton.
I by the way, I did find where The Lover was viewed by me, and it's on a movie channel on my cable called Screen Picks.
Okay. Screen Picks. Yep.
So if you want to find it and have Screen Picks on your cable, you can watch it. Otherwise, I don't think I can help you.
Yep.
This guy is not my kind of guy.
All right, everybody, it's time to talk about BetterHelp.
BetterHelp. I love BetterHelp. I tell you what I've been using lately is all the little bells and whistles that come with it. Obviously, you have the ability to talk to your counselor directly via video chat, via text chat, phone, tablet, computer, whatever. But I've been doing some of the other ancillary stuff, too. There's a place where you can journal. There's a place where you can communicate with your counselor offline. and just kind of leave the messages up there. Typically, my counselor will get right back to me fairly quickly. You can schedule your appointments and all that. You can review documents that you've passed along or received over time. So what BetterHelp is online counselors from licensed professional counselors all over the world. It's a terrific service, especially now when people are more confined without having to go to a therapist's office. You can take care of everything right there. And let me tell you something. I know we've been talking about BetterHelp for a long time, but we still are getting people that respond to us saying, it took me forever, because this is not an easy step. Even as easy as BetterHelp is, it's not an easy step to get involved in counseling, especially that first step. And we've heard from many, many people, listeners of ours, that say, yeah, you know what, I did it. And I'm glad, even though it took me this long, I'm glad you guys are still at it, because I finally took the step. And by and large, we've heard good things about the experiences of our listeners. So just so you know, we're going to keep talking about this.
Excellent. I want to talk to you. You there, listener person. I am not a doctor. But
what?
I truly believe there's someone listening to this podcast that may have anxiety or depression and not realize it. The last year has been so fucking stressful. Pardon me. Do you have to bleep that for BetterHelp?
No, we're fine.
For so many people, for so many different reasons. And I think there are millions of new cases of anxiety from mild to extreme, and that's what I deal with most. And so what I want to do is, from the Mayo Clinic's website, just read you a few symptoms of anxiety. Just because I didn't know I had it until I went to the doctor. I thought I had a heart problem, and the doctor said, oh, no, you have anxiety. You don't have to have all these. Having these doesn't mean you have anxiety. I just want to get you thinking, all right? That's all I'm trying to do here. Do you have a sense of impending danger for no reason? Is your heart rate increased? Do you breathe more rapidly than you used to? Have you been sweating more? Do you feel weak or tired? Do you have trouble concentrating and staying on focus? God, this list is me. Do you have trouble sleeping? Do you have GI trouble? That's gastrointestinal problems. Do you have trouble controlling your worry? Those are just some of the symptoms of anxiety. And if any of those rang true for you, I would really like you to explore the idea with your general medical doctor or a therapist that anxiety may be in your life. But I also want to speak to those of you who don't have anxiety and say you don't have to have anxiety or depression for therapy to be of use to you. And I feel like there are people out there, whether you're ready to pull the trigger or not, you need a service like this. And, you know, when Barrett speaks and when we speak about it, we've used it. We're speaking from personal experience, and it's a truly invaluable service in this time. So there you go. That's my spiel for this week.
And even knowing that, you don't have to diagnose yourself. You don't have to go through that list and say, I definitely have this, which is easy to do, of course, you know, being online all the time. That's what BetterHelp is there for. What you do is you just go to betterhelp.com/SinCast and you fill out a few questions. Those questions are going to help guide you towards your match of a counselor. That counselor will then explore and say, let's see what's bothering you. Let's see, you know, what's happening in the background, that kind of thing. This is stuff that I used to do literally every day. Go to betterhelp.com/SinCast. I could not put it any better than what Jeremy just said. If you feel like there's anything that you need to explore, that you need to work on, that you need counseling for, you get 10% off your first month. Use that first month for sure. It's kind of your launching pad to what you want to accomplish in counseling. So go to betterhelp.com/SinCast. We love it. We use it and can't recommend it more. betterhelp.com/SinCast.
So our main topic today is the world's best character actors.
Yeah.
And we decided we wanted to go over these people, and the character actor typically is that person who isn't all that famous, who's hardly ever, probably never the lead in a movie. Although there have been some great character actors who have moved on to do that type of thing, and we'll have some overlap here on that. But the typical thing that I always heard growing up watching movies is, oh, it's that guy, or it's that girl, or that woman, or whatever, and then and it's, you don't know their names a lot of the times, but they're always in they're in hundreds of movies, and you've seen them over and over, and they're always great. They always bring it. So we were trying to come up with some of our favorite ones, and who wants to start us off?
Oh, I do.
Okay.
I do. We all used a little different criteria, and I loved all of our lists because we're all right. And we could probably do this topic again someday, as long as we write down what we answer today. Because I wrote down 12. I think you guys have more than enough to share, but we won't have time for all that. But first one, the main one, and the reason I wanted to talk about this is a man named Chris Ellis. And he plays Deke Slayton in Apollo 13.
Yeah.
And in That Thing You Do, he is the guy in the camper that is the band's first manager and serves them stew, and then introduces them to Tom Hanks, to whom I am convinced he has a good relationship with, because both of those are Tom Hanks movies. He's also in Catch Me If You Can. So just a little bit of hopefully that gives you an idea of what he looks like. But you probably don't realize he was in Days of Thunder, My Cousin Vinny, Addams Family Values, Crimson Tide. He's done a lot of TV work. That Thing You Do, as I said, Con Air, Wag the Dog, Godzilla, Armageddon, October Sky, Keanu's Best, The Watcher. Wait, that might be a different Watcher.
No. That's The Watcher. He's in that.
Yeah, all right, great. Let's see.
Connoisseur of The Watcher, Barrett Share.
He's in The Island. He's the bartender in that movie. He's just everywhere. And what I love about these kinds of conversations is this was sort of born out of Chris's love for an actor that is on his list. So I'm going to let him talk more about him. But because he talked about him so much, I've started to notice this character actor when I see him and started to realize his greatness. And I think once you sort of make that kind of connection, you'll see them everywhere. Like this guy, Chris Ellis, has 139 credits. He's in Live Free or Die Hard, for fuck's sake. He's in Justified. He's everywhere. And he's also one of my favorite actors. Chris Ellis. Ellis. Become part of the Chris Ellis fan club today, and you'll be one step closer to being friends with Tom Hanks, I guarantee.
There you go.
Yep. Well, since you brought him up, the whole sort of reason for this is Tracy Letts, who, if you look at his filmography, actually he's not in that hundreds of credits mold. He's a guy who has done a lot of things, though. I think he was a playwright mainly. That's what he's basically known for. But a lot of his plays have become movies, like Bug and Killer Joe and August Osage County and things like that. But he has appeared. He started to appear a lot more recently. And I can't remember what the first movie I saw him in was, but it might have been The Big Short. The Big Short, he is one of the investors. He's like the guy who's in charge. He might be the president of Michael Berry's company in that movie. Michael Berry, has like a thing in his contract that says, I can do whatever I want. Essentially, you guys have trusted me with your money and everything. So even the people higher than him, they have to sort of just take it a lot of times, even if he does something like The Big Short, where he's shorting the housing market, which is fucking insane.
That's the Christian Bale character.
Christian
right?
Bale character. Yes. Yeah. And Michael Burry, I said Michael Berry, but Tracy Letts is one of those guys. And there's a point where that it doesn't look like this short is going to happen at all. And he comes in to Michael Burry's office, and he's like, give me my money. you motherfucker, give me my money. And Michael Burry just always just stands his ground the entire time. Where I think Tracy Letts has really sort of people have started to become to appreciate him, and I think this is Jeremy too, is Ford v Ferrari, where he has perhaps, even though this movie is great throughout, he has perhaps the best scene of the movie. And it's because of him that it's so good. Because he got that point where he's being sped through that race course, and by the end of it, he's going back and forth between exhilarated and crying from the tension and everything. It's show stopping. The camera stays on him the entire time too. There's no cuts or anything. And it's just, I sit there and I think about what it must have been like to be behind the camera when he did any of those takes, especially that one, where you're probably sitting there just going, I don't want to turn the camera off. What else is he going to do in this?
It's fantastic, that scene. Yeah. My God.
And he has shown up in a couple of other movies, both Greta Gerwig movies. In Lady Bird, he's Saoirse Ronan's dad in that movie, and he's Mr. Dashwood in Little Women. He's the guy who is going to may or may not publish Saoirse Ronan's book at the end of the movie. But he's fantastic. Also, you Seinfeld fans, he does have an episode of Seinfeld on his list. It is the episode where Festivus is introduced in the series. He is not part of he is actually part of the Festivus celebration at the end of the movie. He gets invited, but he is a part of it. He's a counter guy at an OTB betting place. Elaine's been giving out the wrong number to guys that she doesn't like, and they're getting the calls from these men thinking they're going to talk to Elaine, and so Elaine comes out to the OTB place, and he sets her straight and like, keep on giving these men their numbers. We're men, and like talking about doing something. I don't even remember all the stuff that he says in that. But that's Tracy.
She just came out of a schwitz for 7 hours.
Yeah, exactly.
Hey, no bagel, no.
I love in Ford v Ferrari, there's two moments that have been killing me lately, and one is that speech he gives when he shuts down the assembly line. Mm-hmm. He's like, that is the sound of the Ford Motor Company out of business. And at the end, he's like, he tells everybody to walk home and come to me with an idea and you keep your job. The rest of you second best losers, stay home. You don't belong at Ford. But then the meeting where John Barenthal is trying to sell him on racing. And they're like, well, we do racing already, we do NASCAR. He's like, no, I'm talking about, the sexy racing. He's like, James Bond doesn't drive a Ford. Tracy Letts goes, that's because he's a degenerate. And Josh Lucas is doing the perfect yes man. He's like, oh, that's so funny. So Tracy Letts has completely stolen that move. The first two or three times I watched it, Matt Damon was the star of the show, but Tracy Letts has stolen it from him for me completely.
Is it Shelby that drives him in the car, or is it Christian Bale's character?
It's Matt Damon's Shelby character, yeah. And he's probably not supposed to do that anymore, but he still did.
Yeah, I love that movie. I think we've all started to actively love that movie.
Yeah, that's where Josh Lucas is locked in the office and everything. But there you go. Tracy Letts has not had the big Chris Ellis career yet. And he's of an age where I don't think we're going to see him in everything or anything. Sure. I think, he's but I think that in the next 10 to 20 years, we're going to look back and see a lot of these type of performances, and he's going to be one of our favorites. So anyway, Barrett.
That's a great one. My character actor is somebody that you've seen in absolutely everything, like in many different generations. You young people will recognize her. You old people will recognize her. It's Joan Cusack not John, his sister Joan Cusack.
Mm-hmm.
And she has been, yes, she's had kind of a style that she's played, much like Chris Ellis. She's become a bit of a chameleon. I want to take you through her 80s. She was a member of Saturday Night Live back in the 80s, by the way.
People forget
for a couple of years.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, exactly. She was in 16 Candles. She was in Broadcast News.
Yep.
Married to the Mob. She was in Working Girl as one of the office workers. She was in Say Anything, playing John Cusack's sister, which you'll come back to after a while. My Blue Heaven, Men Don't Leave. Her maybe most recognizable role as a human would be Addams Family Values, where she plays the woman, the femme fatale that's trying to get Fester away from the family so that she can get the money. And she is essentially unrecognizable as Joan Cusack in this movie. She usually plays like the best friend or the sister or that kind of thing. And she is kind of out of her element, but she's wonderful in that movie. She's in 9 months, and then she starts in this John Cusack thing where she's in Grosse Point Blank playing John Cusack's receptionist, basically. She nearly steals the show in that movie, too, man.
She's fucking hilarious. That scene where she talks about she's on the phone and she's like, I ordered blah 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 subsonic. You had that and everything.
You had that.
Yeah, and he's like, well, it's like, well, it's right there on the fucking list. It's right there. It's just like, I don't give a goddamn if you don't, blah blah blah. And then she switches over to another call, and the person is talking about some food preparation. She goes, no, you have to use the soup as a base. It's not
Oh, she's great. And when she's about to set fire to the whole office, she's hilarious.
Yeah.
She's so perfect in that. She's in and Out. I believe she plays Kevin Kline's wife, right?
Yeah.
Fiance.
She got
Beyonce.
I think she got nominated for In and Out, in fact.
I believe so. She's also in Arlington Road, a fun movie. Cradle Will Rock, she plays this commie-hating McCarthyist, basically, that is trying to get more people to her cause. In Runaway Bride, and of course, this is where the younger people will probably recognize her voice as Jessie in Toy Story, in the Toy Story franchise. Starting with, in fact, she was the subject of the most emotional song of maybe the entire series.
Yep.
Starting in Toy Story 2, 3, and of course 4. And man, she's been in High Fidelity. She plays the best friend in High Fidelity, and she is just absolutely genius. I think she's got a wonderful delivery. I think she's been in classics, and she's still working, man. She's still rocking it. She's probably got millions from that Toy Story franchise because she's in the video game, she's in the TV movie, she's in the shorts,
royalties, baby,
she's all over the place.
She's
in Klaus too, that Netflix movie that came out.
I guess In and Out is probably as close as she's come to getting a shot to be a leading lady, and even there, that's Kevin Kline's movie, and she's a secondary character to him. But she's got every bit as talent. She is every bit as talented as her brother, who has had several shots to be a leading man. And I'm glad she has such a vast filmography because she's a talent.
I agree. And then this is something that's very unique in Hollywood and really anywhere, but seeing John and Joan Cusack play off of each other, when she storms into his record shop in High Fidelity and he's like, Hi, Liz. And she's like, hi, Rob, you fucking asshole. And then she leaves. And he's got this confused look. And you're like, that's brother and sister. When they're talking on the phone in Grosse Point Blank, you can see that sort of thing. And it's a very, it works out beautifully when they're on screen together. She's fantastic. One of my best character actors ever.
Yep, and she also got nominated for Working Girl as well. So,
that's right.
Nominations.
Yeah.
Yep.
She's like the receptionist. I just watched Working Girl for the first time like 3 weeks ago.
I haven't seen it in forever. I can't remember what.
It's Melanie Griffith and Sigourney Weaver is the nasty boss, and I think she's either the receptionist or she's a friend.
She's kind of like the Emily Blunt character in Devil Wears Prada.
That's what I felt like it was. Yeah. Are we going another round at least?
Yeah,
absolutely.
I'm going to go back to the Seinfeld well for a man named Daniel von Bargan. I'm sad to say has died in 2015. Yep. You will know him if you know Seinfeld as Kruger, George's boss, at the company for about a season. This is the famous episode where George leaves everything on a high note. Kruger is his boss in that episode. He famously, when the R falls off the sign, the boss loves it. He's like, "Hey, K-Ooga." Sounds like one of those old-timey horns. K-Ooga. But you may not
He's also in the Festivus episode.
Yeah. This guy has been in 85 movies or TV shows, and he has played a lot of cops and law enforcement agents. But he's in Silence of the Lambs. He's in Basic Instinct. Yep. He's in Rising Sun. He's in a movie I love that no one ever talks about called IQ with Meg Ryan. He's in 6 Degrees of Separation. He's in Philadelphia. He's in Crimson Tide. He's in Lord of Illusions. He's in Broken Arrow. G.I. Jane. Amistad. The Postman. One of my favorites is probably in Crimson Tide when he plays like the Russian splinter, like Vladimir Vachenko or whatever his name is. He's like the guy who might fire the missiles that the Crimson Tide, that the Alabama is trying to prevent. And it always makes me laugh to see Kruger from Seinfeld playing the Russian general who has taken over. He was on several episodes of Seinfeld. He's in A Civil Action. He's in Shaft. He's in RoboCop 3. He was on West Wing. He's just everywhere. And again,
you really find this guy. Yeah, this is the perfect example because you'll be watching something completely unrelated to what you would think this guy would be in. Like, hey, that's that guy.
It's that guy. And I honestly, before researching this, I never knew his name, the actor. I always just knew him as that guy who played. If I recognized him at all, it was the guy from Seinfeld. This segment is great. We should do this segment more often.
He's got the perfect line in the Festivus episode where because Frank gets up, Jerry Stiller, and he's like, "Now comes the airing of grievances. I got a lot of problems with you people." And then he starts firing into Kruger. "You couldn't run a company if this." I lost my train of thought. And then they get to the feats of strength, and he's like, "Who wants to pin me?" And the dude takes out a flask, and he's like, "How about George?"
That is the best.
Did you mention in that string of movies you were talking about? Did you mention "Oh Brother, Where Art Thou" in there?
I did not.
No, he's the sheriff. Right?
He's the sheriff. That's the one that when he's mentioned, I think that's my most memorable. The one that I most remember him from is "Oh Brother, Where Art Thou," because he's just. That's a perfect Coen Brothers foil there. And he's great in that movie.
Yeah. He's very menacing. Doesn't have a whole lot of lines, but when you see the flames reflected in his sunglasses and then you hear the guitarist character talk about him, he's like, had a big old hound dog with him too. And his eyes were as dark as, the street right here. And it's like, ooh, that guy freaks me
out. We all have lots of them. I'm gonna pick a more obscure one here who was in a ton of stuff. And I don't know how to pronounce his name. His name is Rick Dukeman, I believe is his name. You know him from The Burbs. He's he's probably the zany neighbor of Tom Hanks in The Burbs. There are, of course, everybody's a zany neighbor, but he's the one who's always talking like this and blah blah blah. And he's in Groundhog Day. He's one of the drunks at the bar with Bill Murray in Groundhog Day, and of course he's the guy in the diner who's like, "Hey, put that anywhere, guy," or whatever. But I remember him mostly weirdly through a very brief scene in The Hunt for Red October, where he is a helicopter pilot, and Alec Baldwin, he's taking Alec Baldwin over to the submarine, to the Dallas, and he's like going over this whole thing about like, oh my God, the last time I went here, there was so much puke. Oh, it was like that radioactive puke and blah, blah, blah.
You talk about chunks.
Yeah, because he's like, this is bad. You should have been there last week.
Yeah. We'll go over a lot of the other stuff he's been in, and he recently died too.
Did he really?
Yeah, I don't know how many years ago it was, but let's see. He was in Spaceballs. He played a prison guard. He was in Die Hard. He's a city worker in Die Hard, and I'm trying to remember what that was, but it looks like Encino Man. He was in Loaded Weapon 1, Last Action Hero. Wow, there's a period there where he wasn't in. Oh, I remember Scary Movie. He plays Cindy's dad. He's the one who's, you know how in Scream the dad was the sort of the cuckold of the, he was, he's the, and so they made Rick Dukeman plays basically that character, but like with all sorts of vices and shit, like just all sorts of just like he's a drunk and a gambler and all this other stuff and whatever. But yeah, they really skewered that character. And those are the main ones that I remember him from. And actually those are his main ones. Actually, looking at his filmography, I thought he was in a lot more. But the Burbs and Hunt for Red October and Groundhog Day, he's just fantastic work. And even though he doesn't have like hundreds and hundreds of credits, he's memorable.
Very much that guy. Very much that guy in Groundhog Day for sure.
Yeah.
Because he keeps showing up, because they filmed the diner scene over and over again. Mm-hmm. They keep doing that. And he's like, you look like a glass half empty type of guy. I look at this glass and I say it's half full. He's awesome.
He's one of the funnier aspects of the Burbs. I love the Burbs, and everybody's great in that, but he's definitely one of the more memorable characters in the Burbs.
All right. I'm going with iconic character actor to juice you in the face this time. All right. He rides the line, but I think he's always going to be a character actor. Willem Dafoe.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Now, you look at this. Now, the guy's got credits going back to the early 80s. Yeah. Heaven's Gate was his first technical performance, even though it was uncredited. But man, talk about disappearing into a role. Think about Platoon. And think about the Adagio for strings at the end of that. Think about him playing Jesus in The Last Temptation of Christ. Mississippi Burning, completely different character than anything he's ever done with Gene Hagman. He was in Wild at Heart. Disregard Body of Evidence. That wasn't good for anybody. He's in.
I'm just kidding.
Of course, he's in American Psycho playing. Yeah, you talk about almost stealing a movie.
Mm-hmm.
That guy, you cannot take your eyes off anytime he's on screen because you have no clue what the fuck he's doing.
Yeah.
Extremely memorable in that. Obviously, Shadow of the Vampire, I believe he got nominated for an Academy Award for that.
Yeah,
right?
he played Max Schreck in that, and I believe he did. Actually, I feel like the Florida Project, it's possible, was his first nomination. I'll look real quick.
A lot of you remember him from as being the Green Goblin in the Spider-Man, the original Spider-Man trilogy, Sam Raimi franchise.
Probably the next Spider-Man movie.
He has been nominated for four Oscars. He was nominated for Platoon, Shadow of the Vampire, Florida Project, and At Eternity's Gate. He's been nominated.
Yeah, get to those for sure. He's in The Life Aquatic. He's got a kind of long history with Wes Anderson. Yeah, you see stuff like he's in Inside Man. He's worked with everybody. But then you start getting into the fairly recent stuff. It's a hard movie to watch, but he's in Antichrist, which is a great movie. It's just a hard movie to watch. And then you get into John Wick. You get into Nymphomaniac, Grand Budapest Hotel, of course. But then the most recent ones that you think about is The Florida Project. He's never played a character like in The Florida Project before. I mean, that's a singular performance, and it's just fantastic. he's the soul of that entire movie. Without that character, this movie's lost because everybody's terrible on their own terms.
Totally agree.
And he is the heartbeat of that movie. And then you've got The Lighthouse, which I absolutely loved. You've got At Eternity's Gate, which I saw a little bit of, where he plays Vincent Van Gogh, and he's tremendous in that movie. I don't like that movie all that much, but he's amazing in that.
Well, and let's not forget Speed 2 Cruise Control as well.
Exactly.
No, the one thing about Willem Dafoe, and this is why he is perfectly encapsulates this, I believe. His face has a lot of character in of itself. He's not classically handsome or anything. But he's got a very unique face, and his voice is also another thing that just is so distinct about him, unmistakable when he gets on screen and everything. And
it's gravelly, but it's not super deep. It's not like it's not unrecognized. It's definitely, it's got its own timbre, I think.
Timbre.
And that's how you can tell. I was watching Vox Lux, and he is the narrator in that.
Oh yeah,
and you can tell immediately that's him. And I'm so confused by this movie. I've watched it several times, and I don't like it. But Murder on the Orient Express,
right?
I keep watching this because it's so beautiful and it's got great people in it, but I don't like it. And I think he's probably my favorite character in that because he plays, I won't spoil it, but he plays a very well-rounded character with a lot of different facets to it. And he's
a lot of
maybe
ins, a lot of outs, a lot of what have yous.
New shit is coming to light. And then, of course, he's in Finding Dory, too. So, no, Willem Dafoe is one of my favorites on this list, I think.
Yeah.
We're going again?
Did we say Finding Dory without saying Finding Nemo?
I looked at Finding Dory. I meant Finding Nemo.
Yeah.
He's in both of them, though, right?
Yeah, he's in both. But like, I would think you would go Finding Nemo. I'm just saying Finding Nemo would go first in that whole.
What's funny is that Finding Dory made a lot more money than Finding Nemo. Isn't
yeah, but that through some weird fucked up anomaly that I'll never understand. Let's do another round of this and save the questions. I mean, I know that we don't get around to questions very often, but we got to them, I think, the last 3 episodes. So
yeah. I could do this all day.
All right, good. Well, then I am going to go to the top of my list and do the godfather of all character actors, in my opinion, Mr. David Pamer.
Yeah.
Nice.
And David Pamer did a lot of TV work for about 10 years. He was even on one of my favorite shows when I was 12 years old, 21 Jump Street. And he has a bit role in No Way Out, the Kevin Costner drama that I'm still hoping Chris will see one day, that I think he will love.
What would you say, No Way Out?
Yes.
I think I've seen No Way
Costner,
Out.
And the last time I brought it up was years ago, but you said you hadn't seen it then.
No, I think I saw it immediately after you brought it up.
All right, good.
In that SinCast, and so I have seen it now.
Yeah, okay, great. But you probably know him from stuff like, well, he's in Crazy People. I'm not sure many of you have seen that. But,
I have seen Crazy People.
Oh, well, yes, we have, but I'm not sure the listeners have.
No, listeners have not, but...
In City Slickers, he plays one of the 2 Ben & Jerry ice cream fictional versions of them. And then he's in Heart and Souls, one of my very favorite movies, where he's the bus driver who ferries the souls from Earth to heaven. And then he's in Quiz Show. One of the reasons he's the godfather of character actors is he happens to be in a lot of my favorite fucking movies. He's in Quiz Show's Dan Enright, the NBC executive.
He's great in Quiz Show.
Yeah, orchestrates with Hank Azaria the whole cheating scheme. Steals the show almost in every scene he's in. He goes on after that to something called Quiz or Get Shorty. Goes from Quiz Show to Quiz Show. The American President, Nixon. City Hall, that famous Joan Cusack movie.
Yep.
Hey, Chris, what is the trailer thing?
There was a palace that was the city. A palace in which there were no king, no queens, no princes or dukes, but subjects, all beholding unto each other to make this a city, our city, a better place in which to live. Oh, a palace again.
Oh,
Nice.
man.
Beautiful.
A string of bad movies you probably saw. Carpool, The Sixth Man, gang-related.
Yeah.
Mighty Joe Young. But then he's in The Hurricane. That Jamie Foxx banger, Bait. I think that's Jamie Foxx. It's not a
it
good
is.
movie, by the way. I was joking. He's got 172 credits overall. He's the one in Ocean's 13 that gets fucked with and has to basically, well, he just gets fucked with the whole movie.
He's great in that, though.
He can play a schlub like that. Go ahead.
Well, it's like that, and he does the same sort of thing in Get Shorty. In Get Shorty, he's just constantly like just being shit on in that movie. Not to the point of what he is in Oceans, but he's a character that can be bullied is basically what it comes down to.
Yep. Anyway, what was I going to say? Oh, he can play a schlub like that, but then, he can play a Dan Enright in Quiz Show, who's smarter than most people in the room, given which room he's in. So he's got a pretty good range. I don't think I've ever seen him get a chance, or maybe he doesn't want to be the leading man. He's a very unique, faceful character, like we said about Willem Dafoe. And he's just one of the most assuring faces to me. When I see him show up in something, I'm always like, I breathe a sigh of relief. He makes me feel comforted.
I love the part in Quiz Show where Rob Morrow comes up to him and tells him about James Snodgrass, who sent himself the answers registered mail, and everything. And before he drops that bomb on him, Pamer's doing this thing where he's like trying to direct the photographers and shit for the new winner of Quiz Show and everything. And he keeps turning around and is like, you know what, you are very blah, blah, blah. He just tells him how annoying he is and everything. And then finally, Morrow drops that bomb, and then Pamer just kind of like, he just stops in his tracks or whatever. They sit down and there's this long pause, and then he turns to Rob Morrow and he goes, why would he do that? Like, he knows he's been had at this point, he's like, why would he do that? And Morrow is so confident that this is going to lead to them going to jail and that they're never going to work in TV anymore. And of course, the sad reality is, didn't matter how much proof he had on it. Somebody else could take the fall and he'd be back in TV. He would take the fall and he'd just be back in TV afterwards. There wouldn't be any punishment for all of this. But I love his performance in Quiz Show. That's like the apex of everything we're talking about here.
Yeah, I agree.
Let me see. What do I want to choose out of this group? You know what? I'm gonna go big. I'm gonna say David Strathairn on this one, since we've already talked about
David.
Yeah. David Strathairn has obviously been in a million movies, and I don't think the only one that I know of where you could consider him the lead of the movie is Good Night and Good Luck, because he plays Edward R. Morrow in that movie. But he's always fantastic, deserved the Oscar nomination for that and everything. He's 100% great. I don't know of too many. I mean, we've named off some great actors that we just love to see and everything, but I don't know of how many actors like David Strathairn show up on the screen and you just know that the movie is now better because of it every time he shows up. I don't know what it is. He's probably been in a lot of shit movies. I mean, he's been in Godzilla and stuff like that, but in LA Confidential, he plays Pierce Patchett, who's basically a glorified pimp in that movie. He's the guy who's like helping women get cut to look like celebrities and everything. He's in The River Wild.
He is.
Whistler in Sneakers is one of the best creations of characters there's ever been.
Agreed.
I think the reason too, I mean, it's very rare that they put in a character like that and they actually use strengths of a character like that than rather. And even when he's got weaknesses, they're somehow able. It's like a team thing, right?
Like
he's able to, when Robert Redford is in the trunk of the car and he asks him what the road sounds like and what did everything sound like and everything, and he's able to recreate that moment and everything. It's so good. He's recently in this Nomadland too, and he's fantastic in Nomadland.
Yeah, that's a surprise, David Strathairn, by the way, because nobody else is famous. In fact, I think most of them don't have there's
actual people who are nomads in
transients.
Yeah, so he's really the only, other than Francis McDormand, like he's the only other like name actor that you would really recognize, I think.
Yeah. So going through this, and we also briefly mentioned, because I was talking about A Brother from Another Planet, which he's in that movie too, but he's also in 8 Men Out. He plays a pitcher, for the White Sox in 8 Men Out, who is, being relied upon by the gangsters to throw games, and he doesn't want to. He's a great pitcher. He's somebody who likes to compete, and he hates this, but he knows that he's going to have to do this kind of stupid crap and everything. And because, it starts getting to the point where their lives are threatened if they don't throw the games. But he's great in that. I don't remember Memphis Belle too much. Do you guys? I've seen it, but he's in that movie.
I liked it. I saw it one time, but it's my buddy Josh is one of his favorites.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. In A League of Their Own, he's one of the big advocates of the women's league in the movie. And in fact, he even tries to take it over by the end because he thinks it's something that could be very viable as a major sport, even as the war is ending and everything. And he realizes very quickly that, the women that are playing want to go back to their husbands and live the family life again. We said Sneakers. He's in The Firm. We brought that up as well. The River Wild. He's in Dolores Claiborne. Do you remember him much in Dolores Claiborne?
I only saw it once.
He's in one of the Bournes. Which Bourne is he?
Ultimatum.
Yeah.
He's in Ultimatum.
I haven't gotten to Bourne Ultimatum, but yeah. Bourne Ultimatum, he's in that. He played 3 episodes in The Sopranos. I actually don't remember that. But consistently good, consistently great. So that's there you go, David Strathairn.
Yeah.
So he's in Ultimatum. He's the last of the old white guys, except for Tommy Lee Jones, I guess, is the last of the last.
Yeah, he plays Noah Vossen in Bourne Ultimatum.
Yeah. They just get interchangeable. Brian Cox and Tommy Lee.
There's one thing that series does horribly, and that is keep track of all of its old white dudes, because it's just a constant like, oh, wait a minute now. Was Edward Norton in that one, or was he in this one? Was it Brian Cox? Was it David Strathairn? Was it it just Tommy Lee Jones?
Albert Fenney, the first one.
Albert Fenney. I mean, God damn it!
They're all evil.
Albert Finney's in the third one.
Albert Finney's in the third one.
Yeah,
he's the leader of Treadstone, right?
Yeah, he's the one that trained Bourne. That he goes back to the training center to kill.
That's another guy that could be on this list, even Albert Finney, even though I think he's had a sort of more famous career than most character actors, but he's one of those guys. Brian Cox, we just mentioned. Talk about somebody who's in fucking everything. Brian Cox.
All right, I'm gonna close this out with a fun one that's not necessarily ubiquitous, but if you dig into this guy's background, you will be rewarded. It's David Alan Greer. We're going a trio of Davids. Okay. Now, are you guys familiar with David Alan Greer at all?
Yep.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, okay. He's in Boomerang.
He's in Jumanji. Had a lot of comedic stuff in the 90s, including in Living Color.
That's
where you really
most from, yeah.
Yeah. And when you go back, you start to see you get the Wayans brothers in there. You got Jamie Foxx in there. You got Jim Carrey in there. And yeah, arguably David Alan Grier kind of slides back to the back of the performers that you really, really wanted to see in Living Color. But man, that guy's talented. He's got so much range. He was trained. He went to Yale performance school, graduated from there, and he was trained as a Shakespearean actor. Like, he's got an absolute banger of a resume. He's been in Porgy and Bess at the Rogers Theater where we saw Hamilton. He's been on Broadway. He's done stand-up specials, and he is absolutely hilarious. But he's also got range of playing pathos. Like, he's a great actor. And it's funny because when you see him in a movie, when I see him in a movie, I think, yeah, this is going to be good, or his part is going to be good. But you don't think of him as a serious actor. And I would love to see him get some sort of opportunity to really show off his range now that he's probably in his 50s, maybe even 60s at this point, and show what a great range he has. This is maybe one of the most underrated actor comedians that I've seen, and a great character actor that can play anything. I cannot stress to you enough. Like, listen to old Adam Carolla show podcast episodes before they had a bit of a falling out and Carolla became a right-wing troll. To listen to him perform, and it will knock your socks off. He's awesome.
I have never, I don't know how many movies I've seen David Alan Grier in. The most, like I said, I In Living Color is where I mainly know him from, and I don't know if I've seen him beyond that very often. He has 118 credits on the IMDb, which is crazy. But I don't know if I've seen him outside of that very often. I have seen a few movies that he's featured in that I'm looking through his credits now. But that's a good call.
Excellent.
And he's been a comedian in some things. He's been in that show Happy Endings, the Bill Lawrence show that I love so much after he finished with Scrubs. He was in The Big Sick. The Kumail Nanjiani movie.
That's the one. That's the most recent one that I remember for sure.
Yeah. And he's been in everything, man. Check out some of his old stand up. Some of his podcast appearances. That guy. This is my kind of guy. Silly. It's very silly.
There you go. I think we'll revisit this at some point. There's so many different character actors that we could go over, and I'm sure that there's a lot out there. Our listeners will probably pitch a few themselves once this gets on Facebook and stuff like that. Anyway, that's going to do it for this week. Keep going to SinCast, presented by CinemaSins on Facebook. We're also on CinemaSins Twitter, Music Video Sins Twitter. We're on SoundCloud. We're also on Discord. If you want to get on Discord, you can go to our Reddit page and find the link on the right side there. Or you can private message me on Facebook, and I will give you a link there. So that's going to do it for this week. It's Chris Atkins and Jeremy Scott and Barrett Sher. We'll see you next time.
Thanks for listening. Comment on our episodes on our SoundCloud page. Check us out on YouTube, Twitter, Facebook, and Reddit. And be sure to visit cinemasins.com.
It's Megan the Stallion. You gotta umph it.
It goes body yaddy 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 yaddy. Body crazy curvy wavy big titties little waist.
Yeah, that's
how she goes. Dude, she's professing her love for her body.
That's great.
But my issue is that she's professing love for all bodies, but she's talking about her big titties and little waist. So I'm saying, like, does everybody have to have big titties and little waist
How come
to get into this club?
Oh, you got.
And so I say titties on the thing, and she says titties, and there's just a bunch of titties. And for some reason, it just struck me as like, we should censor that. It's weird because I don't think we've ever censored titties before, but in this case, it felt right.
But I agree with you.
Yeah, every once in a while, you just get a titty or a dick or I don't know, pussy or something like that. that that just stands out, and you're like,
Every now and then. Every now
get
and
a
then,
stray dick.
a dick stands out to me.
Turn around every now and then I get a dick or tit.
Man, who would have thought Gerard Butler? Because that was the first time I had seen him. I didn't see Dracula 2000. Did you guys see that? You saw that, right?
Yeah, I did. The only thing I remember about Dracula 2000 is that it had that Linkin Park song at the end. The one step closer to the edge. I'm about to break. It was at the end.
Was that over the credits?
Over the credits.
Oh,
Huh.
that's more than I remember.
It had been a song, like a hit song before then, but I just remember that song playing over the credits. That movie was not very good at all, if I recall. So,
was he Dracula? Was Gerard Butler Dracula?
I don't think so.
I don't think so.
I think it was like, what's his fuck that married Charlize Theron, like Stuart Townsend or somebody like that.
Oh, good call.
Yeah.
I think you're right.
I don't know if I'm right.
We'll find out. I'm about to find out. I'm about to break.
I'm about to break.
So Gerard Butler was Dracula.
Oh, shit.
Christopher Plummer was Van Helsing. Johnny Lee Miller, married to Angelina Jolie, was Simon Shepard, whoever the fuck that is. And then also, notably, Vitamin C is in this movie.
Oh, yeah, that's right. That's right. That makes sense. Gerard Butler back in 2000 had that clean cut look where you barely even recognize him.
Yeah.
Sort of like Phenom. Phenom, he's a little hard to I mean, of course he's got a mask on too, but
no, he's good looking, man.
Yeah.
And he's relatively clean cut. He's got the nice do. He looks good. He's very pouty in that movie.
I'm pretty sure Stuart Townsend has played a Dracula or a vampire before, though.
I'm sure you're right.
Maybe in Queen of the Damned.
Either that or he is one.
I think that's what it is. Yeah, he is one. I think it's Queen of the Damned, actually. The last Aaliyah. I think that was the last Aaliyah movie.
Oh my!
I kind of want to go back and revisit that movie because it was god awful when I saw it. But I wonder if it's a little. Yeah, you're right. He played Lestat in Queen of the Damned.
Nice. That's
right. I forgot that was Is it a prequel to Interview with the Vampire?
It's the third book.
It's a connected book for sure.
Interview with Vampires first. Then The Vampire Lestat was second, but The Vampire Lestat was also kind of a prequel, but also a sequel.
Mm-hmm.
And then the third book was Queen of the Damned, and they didn't adapt Vampire Lestat because Cruise obviously wasn't going to do that again. He was awful in that first movie.
Yeah.
And they did Queen of the Damned, and I hated it, but going back, maybe it's a little better than I thought.
I was watching The Mexican last night, and
I
was enjoying that more than I remembered. I'm not here to tell you I thought it was great, but I was smiling a lot. I really, really love dumbass Brad Pitt. I tweeted about it. I think that's my very favorite Brad Pitt.
Yeah.
Whether it's like Burn After Reading or The Mexican, whenever
True Romance.
Yeah, whenever he's just a fucking dumbass. That's my favorite Brad Pitt.
Yeah. That's a Gore Verbinski, I believe, the Mexican.
Oh, really? I think you're right now that you say that.
Mm-hmm.
I just think his El Camino is one of the greatest line readings from cruddy average movies in all of history.
Yep.
Did you watch the whole thing?
No, I bailed about 15 minutes till the end.
That's got Gandolfini in it, right? Is he the hitman?
He's one of several, yeah.
So he's playing the same thing as basically True Romance, right?
No.
Except gay.
He's gay in this movie, and it's a pretty big part of his character. And it's different. He's got more heart than that one from True Romance.
Oh, yeah. He was a bastard in True Romance.
Yeah, he had no heart, but he takes Julia Roberts kind of like his little sister under his wing. And this is after he shoots people in the head and sprays blood all over her. But I found it charming, but it gets pretty muddled there at the end when you've got the 100-year-old, 200-year-old history of the pistol maker and the not firing right and the vendetta and the Gene Hackman not really trying. And it just
Is Gene Hackman in that?
Yes.
I forgot.
And
I forgot a lot
J.K.
about this
Simmons
movie.
is in this movie.
Oh, I kind of want to watch it again.
I think you should. I just did. It starts to fall apart at the end, and I was also drinking a little wine. So there you go.
The curse a lot of times when you watch movies and you know what era they came from, like, you know that in 2001, 2 hours and 3 minutes was very close to being a full 2 hours and 3 minutes, and the credits didn't make up 10 minutes of it like movies today do. Like, you know, it's going to be, that movie's going to end up being about an hour and 58 minutes. And so it's going to be nearly the full thing. But if you watch a 2 hour and 3 minute movie today, you know, at about 150, 151 too, somewhere around there, it's going to be over.
Yep.
Yep.
So this came out before Ocean's 11, like a few months before Ocean's 11, right?
Mm-hmm.
It came out in March. So Brad Pitt and Julia Roberts spent a lot of time together in 2000.
They probably fucked.
I actually read a humorous...
You think? You think maybe?
Probably not.
I read a humorous anecdote. I don't know. They may have.
Yeah.
On Friends, I'm not going to talk about an episode specifically, but there is a famous after the Super Bowl episode where they had Jean-Claude Van Damme and Julia Roberts.
This one.
And they got Julia Roberts on the show because Matthew Perry reached out and invited her. And she said, fax me a book report by tomorrow morning and I'll do it. And he did. And instead of agreeing, she issued another humorous fax demand. And this went on for a while to the point where she said, tell me why I would date your character. And the writers of the show helped him come up with reasons why. And she agreed, and it all turned out to be that he had a crush on her, and they dated for a couple of weeks and then broke up.
Isn't that the one where he gets naked in the bathroom and she takes his clothes? And
yeah, he puts on her underwear and she takes everything else because he taunted her in elementary school, and it's all payback.
Yet another Seinfeld almost overlap, right?
I'm telling you, man, you don't want to dig too deep because there really are only about 50 sitcom stories, and there's just tweaks to everyone.
After you talked about that one with the embryos, I went and started watching. I watched that episode and then watched all the way up until the point that they all find out about Chandler and Monica. I don't know. I still don't know if I like that show, Friends. Like I'll watch entire episodes going.
Yeah.
And then there'll be a couple episodes where I'm like, damn, I've laughed a bunch in this one.
Yeah.
But the once that whole Chandler and Monica thing starts happening, you just start realizing how fucking dumb sitcoms are a lot of times.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it's just it's so insulting to your intelligence and everybody else's intelligence, and like right off of the bat in season 5, Chandler accidentally kisses Monica as he's going out, and so to make up for it, he goes over and kisses Phoebe and Rachel too, and like pretends like it's some European thing or whatever,
and it works.
And you're sitting there going, man, if I were in this group, I'd already know about Chandler and Monica already. But these people are willing to suspend their disbelief about a lot of things. And man, the episode when they do find out, and there's that whole like, well, they know and I know and they know and I know and all that bullshit. I'm just like sitting there just going, oh my God, this is so stupid. But the thing is, so many times during this whole run, they've missed easy clues the entire time, but on that episode they somehow are able to figure out through a lot of like deduction that certain things about the world, there's a point where what happens, they see it, I think Phoebe sees them from the window, which, and again, why the fuck are they making out in front of a window anyway? I'll never understand.
Yeah.
And then they have this idea that they're going to start, when they go off and do laundry, why don't we give them our laundry? And they start like doing these little fun things or whatever. And as soon as they find out, Chandler and Monica find out about that, they're like, oh, I bet they know already and everything. It's like, why are you guys smart now all of a sudden? And then when they do certain things that are a little off, Phoebe and Rachel go, oh, they know that we know. And it's like, you guys sat there and like let a whole bunch of shit slide for the entire season that just basically told you they were going out, and now you guys are smart.
Not to mention the entire premise of we're not ready to tell Ross is fucking stupid. That's the only reason they keep it a secret for as long as they do, is we're not ready for people to know. That's the dumbest shit ever.
No, that drove me up the fucking wall. I was as I was watching that season, I was like, why does this have to be a secret? Why is this? It's not like they're dating somebody that they shouldn't, or that Monica was dating somebody, like dating Joey or something, and this was going on behind his back or whatever. I mean,
which happens later on with Rachel.
Yeah,
that's really insulting.
Oh, yeah. I mean, I'm not here to say it's a perfect show. And if I were making a list of the best sitcoms ever, Friends would be probably not in the top 10 or even 15.
Really?
But I do love watching it. No, I mean, I would put stuff like Frasier and Seinfeld and Dick Van Dyke and I Love Lucy and Simpsons and, well, if you can, I don't know, The Simpsons is kind of fucked itself on the greatest of all time list.
They're watered down, aren't they?
Just by doing so many extra seasons, but I'd still probably put it on there.
They have more mediocre seasons than great seasons now.
Yeah. Newhart. I mean, there's a lot of great Cheers. There's a lot of sitcoms that I think were better and more consistent than Friends. And Friends is oddly more dated than almost any of them, even though
I know
all those 90s
but Gen Z fucking loves them, man.
Yeah.
They love them. For some reason, The Office The Office is more in their wheelhouse, but Friends and The Office has caught on when, if you talk to any of the early millennials or I guess younger millennials or Gen Zers that we work with, you talk Seinfeld, it's completely Greek.
Oh, yeah.
It's completely Greek to
I think one thing that Friends does extremely well is the emotional resonance type of things.
Mm-hmm.
And it's always, I don't know, I didn't tear up during Endgame whenever, On Your Left and all that bullshit shows up, but watch the clip of the people who really care about that and them cheering and stuff. And you start to get caught up in it. And so like when Friends has their little moments where that just come out of nowhere, like after they show the video where Ross was going to try to ask out Rachel for prom and all that bullshit. And she just kind of walks over and you think, oh, she's going to hug him or whatever. And then just plants this huge, like heavy petting kiss on him. And you hear the crowd react to it. Just that you hear that one person in the back going,
yeah.
Like you hear that? What the shit? Because they're the first person that understood what was about to happen. Oh,
yeah.
Oh no!
It's true because Seinfeld doesn't even try to go for emotional resonance.
No.
And when Frasier does, it's always a bit saccharine. It's always, the comedy is always the first important thing, and so. Even when Frasier tries to get, like, there's this whole arc where Niles has a heart problem and ends up having heart surgery and everybody's crying and it's like the worst 3 episodes ever. And there's some humor in there, but it's just, let's go back to laughing. Anyway, yeah, most sitcoms that try for that kind of thing don't nail it as well as Friends did. And
The Office did the same thing. Office was more, I mean, The Office had that moment where, because the Pam and Jim thing was such a never going to happen type of thing because she was always engaged to this one dude the entire, like, for I don't know, 3 or 4 seasons or something like that. And then finally there was like some sort of discussion about it or a big kiss or whatever. And I think that's another thing. I mean, it's those type of things that people really respond to. Those they were so good together. They finally get together and everything. I still don't understand the Ross and Rachel thing though. That episode where they're moving the couch, and the guy in the store openly is like, "You and her doctor? And I was like, yeah, I'm like the guy in the couch store. I'm like that guy.
What does he keep saying? He's like, lift with your arms, lift with your arms.
Oh, no, he keeps saying,
Pivot. And then and Chandler gets pissed off and like, stop saying pivot. And then at the end of it, where they drop the couch, basically, he goes, what does pivot mean?
He takes it back to the couch store and the stinger at the end, and it's sawed in half. And he's like, I would like to return this damaged couch. And he goes, I will accept store credit.
She gives him $4. You're like, I'm not a doctor. And every time I hear that, I think of that Simpsons episode where they go to Itchy and Scratchy Land and Lisa drinks that water that they go on that ride or whatever, and it's that like icky looking water, and she starts tripping and everything. And says, I am the lizard queen and all that. And towards the end of the episode, they're in the offices of Itchy and Scratchy Land or whatever, and this doctor comes up to her and it's like, all right, take two of these pills, drink this, do this, dig it, blah 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 blah. And Marge is like, oh, thank you, doctor. And he goes, oh, I'm not a doctor.
Holy shit, the episode on TV right now, Friends, is Ross buying the couch and the dude saying you and her. I kid you not. That is on right now.
Fucking crazy.
You can turn on TBS if you want to check me, but it is on right now. I loved his right down the road. What is it that reminds me? Oh, it's Jerry Seinfeld when he does that. How things going with Jerry? Hell yeah, the tractor story. Yeah. Pretending to be somebody he's not, but he doesn't know what that guy sounds like. So he's just like, yeah, how are things going with Jerry?
I like the one where he's pretending to be depressed so that George will look funnier. And he ends up getting the girl anyway.
I think that milk's curdled. I don't care.